8 years ago, 8 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, we made history right here in this channel, presenting you with a video called Hyper 5. And this is where we put together the LaFerrari, the Porsche 918, and the McLaren P1 against each other. And at that point, those were the three standards of hypercars. Those were the cars that were coming out by every single manufacturer, and especially the main ones, McLaren, Ferrari, and Porsche, putting out their top of the line car, their gap car, their hypercar, the one car that made a big difference, the one car that you would drag race against another car, and it would literally demolish the competition. But at that point, we already had some really fast cars. And number one, we had like the exoticness and the craziness of the new cars that were coming out. At that point, I put my Pagani Huayra on the video too. So you guys can see my Pagani Huayra in that video because I thought it belonged in the conversation. And then a friend of mine also loaned me his Bugatti Super Sport, the black one that you see right there, so we can test it out because the Bugattis are really fast. So we wanted to see how they performed in other ways. And the reason why is simple. You know that the Bugatti on a straight line is going to demolish everything. And at that point, the gap cars, which were the Ferrari, the 918, and the P1, we're really gapping everything, except we knew that a Bugatti would stay right there with them. So we put him on the track, and then we grabbed a race car driver, lap him around on their first try, and see how he did. And also, I was really fat at that point, and my hair, unbelievable. And also, my arms were really, really, really hairy. Either way, uh, those cars came out. It was so much fun being able to do this. And also at that time, the hype behind this was insane. And we're right now reliving that. But I feel like a lot of things have changed. And I want to know what you guys think, because I can't be the only one that feels this way. I can't be the only one that's thinking about how things have changed in such a little amount of time when it comes to cars and the excitement and the everything around them. Because now I don't think we're getting the same type of product that we were getting before. And I feel like a lot of people are saying Ferrari's done uh, because of the new car that they're coming out with, the new F80, which, by the way, the brand new LaFerrari successor. Can we, motherfucker, be happy and enjoy the fact that these manufacturers are still crazy enough to do these cars that don't really matter anymore and make no sense? Because, man, it's just a big celebration of everything they do. At the end of the day, it's a big competition. And if it wasn't because of competition, these cars wouldn't exist and these cars wouldn't be getting better every single time. And that's what we're seeing right now. We already talked about the W1, which is a McLaren brand new hypercar. And now we're going to dig into the Ferrari F80, which, by the way, when the Holy Trinity came out 10 years ago, I was all over the McLaren camp. I wanted a McLaren P1 so bad. That was, to me, like the holy grail of everything. I missed out. I got a Pagani Huayra instead, and also got a 918, two 918s actually. And the 918 was my budget solution to not having a P1. But at the same time, it was incredible. That the acceleration of that 918 was like nothing. I remember just making Instagram videos of me just demolishing people on the freeway, and how ridiculous that was. And that would just go viral left and right, because it was something that we had never seen at that time. But at the same time, my heart and my soul wanted that P1 more than anything. To me, the LaFerrari was more of a 488, a fourth. It was, yeah, like a 488. It was like one of those cars, and it was just like bigger, and it had a V12. Wow. I didn't really appreciate it at the time. But I want to say a few years went by, and I look back at that LaFerrari, and to me right now, number one, if I could have any car, and if I'm going to buy any stupid car, I was thinking about getting a LaFerrari, but I feel like getting an SP3, which is, to me, the most beautiful car Ferrari has ever done. It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful Ferrari ever made. It's just unbelievably amazing. Design, the retro with the modern, which is something that I really dig that Ferrari's getting into, and especially now with all of their other models, they're kind of putting it in there. Like the 296 has the most retro vibes you could ever get from any other car. And I will lick my chops because of those. Those are epic fucking cars. But when it comes to the hypercars, like I said, I wasn't so into the Ferrari, but now I look back at it and I'm like, I would literally commit any crime, you guys name it, as long as I can get a LaFerrari. Any crime whatsoever. Any, just put it on the chat. I'll do it. No. Put it on the chat. I'll do it. But man, that LaFerrari really grew on me. And I feel like right now people are getting a little too spoiled. Back then, we were standing at in a different place as a whole with the car world. Cars didn't yet have enough power that was crazy. We didn't have the electric car in its full form. We didn't have basically cheaper cars that can do insane speeds, and we didn't have all the insane amount of attention going everywhere for every manufacturer of cars. Because now you have the Trottoir, or whatever the fuck that's called. You have the Hennessy. You have, I mean, everything right now is a hypercar, according to everyone. And actually, Top Gear has a great video where they take Mate Rimac out with John Hennessy and Christian Koenigsegg to race their cars. You guys need to look at that video. Mate is a fucking degenerate. I love it. He's driving that car, because if you guys watch the video with Mate Rimac, you know that dude grew up and made himself who he is from his passion of cars, building fast cars, building that first electric BMW, which was called the washing machine, or that's what everyone called it. And dude was a real racer, like straight up. Like you would see videos of Mate. Mate was famous for just beating the shit out of everyone in Croatia in that drag strip. And then he became, obviously, because of all of his genius and everything else, he became the CEO of Bugatti and Rimac and whatnot. Totally different times, though. Totally different times. Back then, we didn't have anything like what we have right now. And I want to say that at this point, what matters in the supercar, hypercar space is not what he did back then. Back then, we wanted V12s. Back then, we wanted maximum speed from 0 to 60. Back then, we wanted like the best sounding car ever. And we didn't want it to be supercharged, turbocharged, but they gave us electrification for the first time. And we were like, fine, that's cool. Because right now, you're giving us cars that are faster than anything else. But in 2024, that's not the case anymore. And I want to go over the specs, and I want to go over everything that this Ferrari car is going to bring to the table with you guys. Let's analyze the shit out of this one. Why not? All right. 2026 Ferrari F80. Starting at $3.1 million. Can I tell you guys real quick? Starting at $3.1 million. When I started looking into buying these cars, I had some money because I wanted to get into a real estate project that I eventually did. But I said at the time I had some free cash, and I was like, you know what? What if I buy a LaFerrari to flip it? And at the time, the LaFerrari sticker was $1.6 million. 1.6. I want to take you back to the Enzo. The Enzo was $660,000. It was under $700,000. And now it starts at $3.1 million fucking dollars. And by the way, that's obviously without you being able to get the car, because no one can get it. A lot of people don't understand this. And not everyone can just buy one of these cars unless you pay the over, which, by the way, if you're a rich dude and you're thinking about buying Ferraris, that's what you need to do. Pay the over. Don't go and lick Ferrari's dick. They'll eventually come to you if you buy enough of these cars. That's what always happens. And at the end of the day, they will make you do the same thing, but in other forms. They'll keep you busy, though. They'll make you buy the new Pura Sangre, or however the fuck they pronounce it in English. Or they'll make you buy the FF that no one wants, the Lusso. Or they'll make you buy a Roma, and then having you post it on Instagram, trying to convince your friends that you really made your mind up and that you really enjoy that Roma. That's what they do in order for people to even be nominated to get one of these cars, which is fucking impossible. The people that you're like fighting with are owners of like the steel industry in different countries, the people that created the hair clip, the people that run all of the cable companies. You're literally fighting amongst like quadrillionaires. All right. And they all get disappointed every single year. Like right now, they're making like, I think they're making like 700 or 800 of these cars, which is an obscene amount for what they are, for the limited club that they belong to, and blah, blah, blah. But I got to say, There's more than plenty of people that can afford this car, no problem, that belongs to the Ferrari circle, etc. And that to me is quite impressive. At $3.1 million, when the LaFerrari came out, and like I said, it was 1.6, they offered me the car for 2.65. I said, I'll buy it and I'm going to be able to flip it for 3. That's what I thought. I'm going to take like 400 grand, $600,000. That's what I'm going to make. That's what I was thinking, right? I'm not going for like, I'm going to hold it long term and keep it until it goes up to 4 million, which it eventually did, obviously. But to me, the plan was I'm going to sell it for like 3.2 million. So by the time I was getting the deal done, I sent my driver's license to the guy. We got everything sorted. They sent me like the box, which the car was being flown in and all that stuff. By the time the car landed, someone else gave him $2.9 million. And I was like, well, all my nuts going to be there, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy this car. And like I said, I wouldn't have purchased that car for myself. That was like a straight up, I need to flip this motherfucker because this is part of my money to invest, and that's where it's going. So the other guy took it away from me. And I remember when he paid $2.9 million, I was like, this guy's barely ever going to make money. Boy, was I wrong. Those cars went up to $4 million. $4 million fucking dollars. And right now, the new one, the F80, ladies and gentlemen, is a cool $3.1 million. Let's start with that. Overview. Ferrari has a new performance flagship model called the F80, exactly the hypercar that they're building. And instead of a howling V12 engine, you'll find the twin-turbo V6 plug-in hybrid powertrain under its exotic-looking bodywork. Now, a lot of people are already losing their mind here, and they're saying, if it's not a V12. This is one of those things that I'm saying that are getting lost in time and with new people and probably older people. And I actually don't know who's on what side. Because at this point, why would anyone want a V12? If you know anything about fast cars, if you've ever driven V12s, the better cars are the ones with the smaller engines. Formula One cars have 6-cylinder engines with these type of hybrid powertrains. Like, that's the experience that you want. And also at the same time, we're trying to break records here. And when you look at the Aston Martin Valkyrie, which wasn't a complete V12, sounds and looks delightful and delicious. Car is low as fuck on regular use. 0 to 60, 3-point-some seconds. It's got a lot of slip. So do you really want a V12, or are you going to get with the times and do what makes sense? Because I got to tell you, unless you've driven the 296, I think it's going to be really hard for you to understand how good that hybrid system is. That V6 engine on the 296 is special. The car itself is special. And that's just a small sample of what you're going to get with the Ferrari, with the F80, which, by the way, love the name. Very Formula One. Everything about it is so Formula One. God, the things I would do. Either way, touted as a successor to the iconic Ferrari, such as the 288 GTO and the LaFerrari, the F80 features engineering from the brand's Formula One racing team. That's what I'm saying. That plug-in hybrid powertrain boasts 1,184 horsepower, almost 1,200 horsepower. Now we're getting crazy. Now, this is, by the way, this is the limit. We've seen the Koenigseggs. We've seen like all these cars with 2,000 horsepower. They cannot put that fucking power down. If anyone is telling you otherwise, you stop talking to that person, because that person is mentally challenged. And that's contagious, son. That's contagious, unless you're wearing a condom. So 1,200 horsepower, and as it's said to be capable of launching the F80 from 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 2.2 seconds. I know a lot of people are not going to like this point. We're going to go back to the story. But this is where it starts to become stupid. 2.2 seconds from 0 to 60. Now, that's really fast. For a normal car, standard car, really fast, right? We all know that. But my Tesla's quicker than that. And I know a lot of people are going to say it's not the same thing, Alejandro. That thing goes so fast afterwards. There's just not enough space anywhere in the world, or at least anywhere where I live, to really race from 0 to like 220 miles an hour. that exists in Fast and the Furious movies, along with cars with more gears than countries are in this world, that's not really, really part of real life. Okay? So this is where it starts to get a little, who's going to enjoy this car? And now, if I bought this car, my greatest joy, and this is something that I told Pato, I have a friend of mine that races cars professionally. And I told him, because I wanted to get an AMG 1, but then it eventually fizzled out. I was like, if and when I get it, do you mind just taking me to the track and just ripping the car? He goes, are you fucking kidding me? Of course. So to me, that's a dream of mine, being able to like drive with someone like that, understand the dynamics of the car at that speed, like the different loads of downforce and maybe aero efficiency, and when I need to pass, how to balance the car. All of that gets me harder than trigonometry. But how many people really enjoy those things? How many of these cars are just going to sit in a massive warehouse and are never going to see the light of day? Well, they're going to go to the car shows, because we know that a lot of these are going to go out for them likes. But other than that, I just feel like this is a car that very few people will actually be able to enjoy at that level. And like I said, I'm not against people developing these cars at the rate that they're doing it. It's just a little sad that we got to that point. Whereas before, the limit of how much you could push a car wasn't that far off from your skills. Now it requires for you to be a fucking Formula One driver and be able to get everything out of that car. Because once the car's got like my LT, I'm telling you, that's way too much power already in a car for the street in the United States, in California where I live. That's already too much. I can never floor the fucking car anywhere, because by the time I'm done and getting to the bottom of it, I'm already at 150 miles an hour. So either way, active aerodynamic elements, which by the way, yes, an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, obviously I wouldn't expect anything less, and an active suspension system have all be specifically tuned to unlock the F80's envelope pushing performance. What's new for 2026? That's fucking irrelevant. Pricing and which one to buy. The price of the 2026 Ferrari F80 starts at 3.1 million. Oh, this is a great bar that illustrates where 3 million lies when you compare it to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ferrari hasn't said how much the F80 will cost or how many will be made. They already did, by the way. It's about $799. I'm pretty sure it's $799, not $699. Require a 7-figure outlay and producing limited quantities, blah, blah, blah. The engine and transmission. The F80 is powered by a plug-in hybrid powertrain that makes an incredible 1184 horsepower and features technology gleaned from Ferrari's Formula One racing team. That's awesome, by the way. A mid-mountain twin-turbo 3.0-liter V6. By the way, that's the secret, right? What makes the LaFerrari so epic when you drive it is that it's a mid-engine car with a V12. That's what he did with the battery too, with the instant torque at low RPMs. And then you get the massive engine at higher RPMs, like really giving you all of that linear power that was so delicious on the LaFerrari, along with the most incredible exhaust note you'll ever hear in your life. I think the LaFerrari is the best sounding car in the world. It's the perfect balance of everything production-wise. Then someone's going to be like, oh, what about they made 2 of those? Like, no one gives a shit. No one, I'm telling you. Okay, so we were saying Formula One. Oh, the fact that it's a mid-engine car, that's awesome. Now, it's going to be assisted by 3 electric motors to hit that output number. Obviously, the regular ICE engine, I believe, produces 900 horsepower, which is insane for a V6 twin-turbo engine. But Ferrari, if anyone can do it, is Ferrari. They're very good at building engines. With 2 electric motors driving from the wheels, the F80 is also all-wheel drive. This is something people also have been bitching about. The car is all-wheel drive. What about wheel race? Dude, when you drive one of these cars, you need them to be all-wheel drive so they can torque, so you can send the torque to the front tires, to the rear tires, and actually give you a chance at getting and hitting those 0 to 60 times that they're telling you. If you didn't have that and you just had 1,200 horsepower to the rear wheels, you would never be able to get off the line. Ask any Koenigsegg fan if I'm wrong. And by the way, they'll all tell you I'm wrong because they're fans and not realistic. 0 to 60 times. We haven't tested the F80 ourselves yet. Really? That surprises me. But Ferrari claims some impressive acceleration numbers for its flagship model. The company says 62 miles arrive in as little as 2.2 seconds. And then 124 happens in 5.8 seconds. Now, this is where I want to stop the video right now about this. This is where I want to stop this part right now. And the reason why is, give me 1 second. This is why. The Rimac Nevera R. The Rimac Nevera R can do 0 to 60 in 1.7 seconds and can hit 200 kilometers an hour in 4.38 seconds. The top speed is 256 miles an hour. Now, this is the fastest, the horsepower, 2,100. Of course, it's going to weigh more, but it's an all-electric hypercar. And that's where I want to ask the question to everybody watching this video. I want to ask you, what's a real hypercar to you anymore? There's hyper expensive cars, which are like the Paganis, the Koenigsegg's, and also there are, I think a hypercar just fits into any gap, any sort of gap car that you can build. That means if you're really good at 0 to 60, you can be a hypercar on your own right, like the little Zinger car, which is incredibly fast. If you're one of those cars like the Koenigsegg's that take forever, but once they get going, they're so quick, you're a hypercar. I agree, because you have hyper performance at a certain point. The Nevera, which is Mate's car, the Rimac, which is so insane to say that out loud. The Rimac Nevera R is the quickest, fastest hypercar on earth right now. It might not be around the track, and it depends on what track. I'd actually like to see that. But what to you is a hypercar now? Back then, to me, it was like a car that created a gap on regular performance, and you could see it everywhere. Now I feel like it's harder to see it. And the reason why it's harder to see it, it's not because the car is like, and by the way, the design, a lot of people are crying about the design. I think it's going to be gorgeous, and it's going to age beautifully, because these are modern cars with a very classic look. And that is something that Horacio Pagani, for example, is really good at. And he like squeezes the shit out of that value going forward. To me, the Pagani, the Huayra was, this is going to be a hard one for it to age. And now looking back at the Huayra, I'm like, God fucking damn. Then I saw the Utopia when it came out, and I was like, I don't know, dude, this is weird. Now I look at the Utopia, and I'm like, this is one of the most beautiful cars. I think the F80 is going to be one of those cars. I think it's gorgeous. Love the fact that it's a one-seater. If you guys look at the interior pictures, it looks like only the driver's seat is a real seat. The passenger seat's kind of like, you're going along with that, dude. Like, they took a little too much from the SP1 and like basically the SP1 inspiration from that. And they were like, all right, well, fuck the passenger. And that's what they did. The whole point of that car is so that everything inside is looking at you directly, and you're just enjoying it, feeling like you're driving a Formula One car. And like I said, it's funny because there's one seat for the driver, but there seems to be just a cushion for whoever's sitting next to you with some intense harness seatbelts, which gotta love it. Gotta absolutely love it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are saying that, oh, this is stupid and whatnot. I, first of all, love the car. If I could have any of them between the McLaren and this one, I'd get the Ferrari all day long. I love the way the McLaren looks and whatnot, but this is something really special, like extremely special. I'm not saying the McLaren isn't, but to me, the Ferrari is just that level. And now that I'm really into Formula One and like a fucking crack addict, loving them even more, to be honest with you. I just don't know. Is there a point to keep building these cars? We can't even use them on the street anymore. Like, the electric cars are so much faster. Is there a point to building these hypercars anymore? And now for the rich, there is. For the brand, there is. But for people that just love and got so excited the first time these cars came out, how do you feel about it now? How do you feel about the fact that they're so quick, but still not quicker than like their Nevera or many other cars, by the way, which is weird to say because this is a hypercar. How do you guys feel about that? I don't know. I love the car. I feel like everyone that's a Ferrari fan that's crying about the car, it's just what it is. You always would change, get all these people that come out and cry about it. I think it's gorgeous. I love the recipe. I love the V6 3.0-liter engine that they're putting in it. Very Formula One. Obviously, the Formula One, it's a 1.5, 1.4-liter engine. I think it's like half the size. But either way, I mean, the fact that I drove that 296 and he just left such a big mark and big impression really makes me feel good about this car. But I want to know what you guys think. I want to know how you feel about this Holy Trinity thing once again. And also, we're going to do another video where we're going to talk about the Mission X, right? Because a lot of people are thinking that Porsche might come out with another car. But I got to tell you, they hit me up back then and they were asking me if I were interested and that the price would be around $1.5 million. So they said they were testing the waters. They wanted to gauge interest. But I'm just saying, there's a real possibility that Porsche actually comes out just with a full electric car and the Mission X is the one. If that's the case, watch the fuck out. Watch the fuck out. It's going to get interesting. So I want to know, which one's your favorite one so far, W1 or the F80? I want to know what you think about hypercars now. And I want to know how you see them going towards the future. What's going to be the next generation of these cars? I'm really interested. Really interested. All righty, my boys. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Maybe in like 7 weeks.